I want to share with you the complete, unvarnished account of Elizabeth, a doll residing in an actual museum filled with eerie artifacts, globally renowned as the world's most haunted doll. Many claim she's possessed, yet the nature of that possession remains shrouded in mystery. I'll guide you through each meticulously documented occurrence, presenting the evidence as it unfolded, so you may reach your own conclusion about the truth behind this porcelain bride. Let me preface this by stating clearly, I have no personal acquaintance with Lee Steer, Sarah Carter, or their dedicated museum team. My journey into Elizabeth's story began purely through online research. Intrigued by fragmentary accounts, I reached out directly to Lee via email. To my gratitude, he responded thoughtfully, not only granting permission to narrate Elizabeth's tale, but generously providing access to their extensive archive, videos, photographs, and incident logs his team had compiled. Their cooperation has been marked by unwavering transparency and integrity, making this reconstruction possible. Should you wish to examine their primary evidence, I urge you to follow Lee's official links in the video description below. Subscribe to his channels, and kindly mention that Mystery Archives guided you there. Now, let us delve into the haunting chronicle of Elizabeth. My initial encounter with Elizabeth's legend emerged when Lee Steer, the seasoned curator of the Haunted Objects Museum nestled in South Yorkshire, England, chanced upon a startlingly understated online auction listing. Unlike typical sensational listings awash with Gothic fonts or fake blood spatter, this was starkly simple. A single, slightly faded photograph of a porcelain doll clad in a vintage wedding gown, accompanied by a chillingly blunt description: possessed bridal doll. Malevolent energy. Men beware. Lee, having evaluated countless purported haunted dolls over the years, many revealed as hoaxes involving clever rigging, fabricated backstories, or psychological suggestion, felt an uncharacteristic prickle of intuition. This felt fundamentally different. The photograph depicted Elizabeth in unsettling detail. Her face, crafted from smooth, cold porcelain, held an unervingly vacant expression. Lifeless glass eyes stared forward with an almost palpable bitterness, seeming to hold centuries of resentment. Faded synthetic auburn curls peeked from beneath a slightly yellowed, lace-trimmed bridal veil. The seller's description was sparse yet alarming. The doll had passed through multiple male owners, each returning her within mere days, reporting sudden, inexplicable illnesses, mysterious physical injuries appearing overnight, and an overwhelming, primal terror that drove them to relinquish her. Elizabeth, it seemed, harbored a specific animosity towards men. Convinced this warranted investigation, Lee placed a bid. As the auction progressed, he noted an unusual hesitation among other seasoned paranormal collectors. Bids climbed, yet competitors withdrew just shy of the final stretch. When the virtual hammer finally fell, the winning price sent a shiver down his spine. £866 and 66 pence, a figure resonating with the ominous numerical sequence often associated with dark forces. Lee noted this as a deeply unsettling coincidence, a detail impossible to ignore in his field where patterns often whisper truths. Days later, a nondescript cardboard box, marked only with a simple, fragile stamp, arrived at the museum. Sarah Carter, Lee's trusted colleague and researcher, met the courier at the gates. The box felt surprisingly light. Inside, carefully swathed in layers of bubble wrap and plain tissue paper, sat Elizabeth. There was no immediate chill, no sense of oppressive energy, just a silent, still figure. Yet, Sarah confided later, a distinct feeling washed over her the moment she lifted the doll free. It wasn't fear, initially. It was resentment. A cold, quiet certainty that she did not want to be here, within these walls. They positioned Elizabeth within a pristine, newly cleaned display case inside the museum's dedicated bridal room. This small, intimate chamber housed other poignant relics of matrimony and loss. Antique lace wedding veils, sepia-toned photographs of brides from bygone eras, and ornate, slightly tarnished hand mirrors. No identifying label announced Elizabeth's presence or history. Surveillance was discreet but thorough, a high-definition camera mounted overhead, and a sensitive motion sensor integrated directly into the museum's central security alarm system. The first night passed without incident. Calm, silent. Yet, by the week's end, The atmosphere within the entire museum had shifted palpably. 3 nights after Elizabeth's arrival, precisely at 3:07 a.m., Lee's smartphone jolted him awake with a harsh, insistent alarm notification. Fire alert, Zone 4. Zone 4 was the bridal room. Heart pounding, Lee raced through the darkened corridors, bracing for the smell of smoke or the sight of flickering flames. Bursting into the room, he found only profound stillness. The air was unnaturally, bitingly cold, a deep chill that seemed to seep into his bones. No smoke curled in the air. No electrical fault sparked. No sign of fire or damage anywhere. The sophisticated alarm system had triggered without any discernible, physical cause. This was merely the beginning. Over the ensuing days, the fire alarms in the bridal room activated repeatedly, always between the eerie hours of 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. Lee, a practical man, meticulously checked the wiring himself. He replaced sensors, consulted circuit diagrams, and finally called in a certified professional electrician for a comprehensive audit. Every test came back unequivocal. The system was flawless, fully functional, and showed no signs of fault or tampering. Despite this technical reassurance, the alarms continued their nocturnal shrieking, a terrifyingly regular disruption. Determined to document and understand, Lee and Sarah escalated their investigation. Each night, they deployed standalone, battery-powered digital voice recorders and additional infrared motion sensors within the bridal room, specifically focused on Elizabeth's case. Capturing electronic voice phenomena, EVP, those elusive, often whispered sounds attributed to spirits, is notoriously difficult, requiring patience and eliminating countless false positives. On the 5th night of this vigil, however, the equipment delivered. At precisely 3:17 a.m., a recorder captured a sharp audio spike. Initial playback revealed harsh static, but upon meticulous enhancement and repeated listening, a distinct, chillingly clear whisper emerged from the silence. "Get out." The voice held no identifiable gender, only a cold, commanding hostility. Sarah replayed the segment dozens of times, isolating frequencies, confirming there were no staff present, no open windows allowing stray sounds. The whisper was undeniably captured within the sealed room. It was real. 6 nights after Elizabeth's arrival, Lee conducted a scheduled live stream tour of the museum for his online followers. The atmosphere remained light and informative until he entered the bridal room. Viewers immediately commented on the visible change. Lee's breath began to mist slightly in the suddenly chilled air. He discussed the ongoing alarm phenomena and cautiously mentioned the captured EVP. Mid-sentence, he visibly flinched, his hand flying to the back of his neck. "Whoa, guys, it feels like something just burned me," he stammered, his face contorting in sudden pain. He abruptly ended the stream. Rushing to a mirror, Lee discovered a vivid, deep red welt curving across the skin of his neck, resembling a crude, twisted symbol. When Sarah arrived moments later, they found more. 3 thin, perfectly parallel scratches etched into the skin of his upper back, lacerations appearing without any physical contact, without any sharp object near him, without any plausible explanation. This marked a terrifying escalation. The museum's energy shifted fundamentally after this incident. Visitors, particularly men, began reporting intense, pounding headaches the moment they entered the bridal room. Waves of inexplicable, profound dread washed over them. Sarah noted a disturbing pattern. "It's like Elizabeth watches, especially when men are near. The air gets heavier, colder, and the men, they feel it, an aggression focusing on them." Every male visitor seemed to become a potential trigger. By mid-2024, Elizabeth's infamy had exploded far beyond South Yorkshire. Lee and Sarah, committed to transparency, shared their evidence online. The fire alarm system logs showing repeated Zone 4 triggers, the enhanced audio file of the Get Out EVP, and stark photographic evidence of the scratches on Lee's neck and back. Then came the pivotal moment that catapulted Elizabeth onto the global stage. A TikTok livestream hosted by Lee featuring respected paranormal investigator John Paul Kinney. John Paul, known for his skeptical, analytical approach and unflappable demeanor, agreed to a live session inside the bridal room. Thousands tuned in worldwide. Standing calmly before Elizabeth's case, John Paul discussed the documented injuries targeting men. Minutes into the broadcast, he froze mid-sentence. His hand shot behind his shoulder, grasping at his shirt. Something just grabbed me. Right here, at the back of my neck. Pulled my shirt forward, he stated, his voice tight with shock, holding his collar out for the camera to see. He then winced, mentioning a sharp stinging sensation. The live stream abruptly terminated. Hours later, John Paul uploaded a follow-up video, showing a distinct, fresh, thin red scratch precisely where he had felt the pull and sting, an injury appearing live on camera, witnessed by a vast online audience. This was the first attack incontrovertibly captured on video. Clips of John Paul's reaction and the visible scratch were shared virally, dissected, debated. Skeptics cited static discharge or suggestion. Believers saw undeniable proof. No evidence of trickery or manipulation surfaced. Crucially, John Paul's experience opened the floodgates. At least 17 other men came forward with strikingly similar accounts, experiencing sudden sharp pains followed by the appearance of long, thin scratches across their shoulders, backs, or necks while inside or shortly after leaving the bridal room. Many described fleeting sensations, phantom fingers tugging at clothing or hair, an unseen hand shoving them, or an icy grip on their arm. Dizziness, nausea, and profound disorientation frequently accompanied these encounters. Critically, these incidents occurred in full view of surveillance cameras and other visitors. None of the men had touched Elizabeth's case, and attacks often commenced when they were openly skeptical or joking about the haunting. Sarah and Lee, prioritizing safety, implemented stringent protocols. Explicit warnings were given to male visitors before entering the bridal room. Additional signage was posted. Camera coverage was upgraded to multiple high-definition angles with continuous recording. Detailed logs were maintained for every reported incident. Yet, Elizabeth's activity seemed to intensify, almost feeding off the heightened attention and male presence. The more male energy entered the room during the day, the more violent the nocturnal phenomena became. As summer faded into early autumn, Elizabeth's manifestations escalated into undeniable poltergeist activity. One quiet afternoon, Sarah was alone in the bridal room, arranging a display on a shelf well away from Elizabeth's case. Without warning, a heavy, cut-glass perfume bottle, weighing approximately 1.5 pounds, abruptly lifted off its shelf. Not tipped, not rolled, lifted. It then shot horizontally across the room like a projectile, shattering with tremendous force against the far wall. Overhead security cameras captured the entire event, the bottle moving in a perfectly straight line at speed, defying gravity and physics, as if thrown by an invisible, powerful force. Electronic disturbances became rampant. Motion sensors flickered erratically, triggering alerts when the room was visibly empty. Infrared cameras displayed bursts of unexplained static and sudden, blinding white flares obscuring the feed. Fresh batteries in digital recorders and EMF meters drained inexplicably within minutes when placed near Elizabeth's case. During another live stream, a digital word generator device, used for spirit communication, spontaneously flashed two words in rapid, emphatic succession: bride and haunting. Lee and Sarah confirmed they had not pre-programmed these words, nor had the device ever generated them independently before. Then, at 3:38 a.m. one night, a grainy but clear surveillance feed recorded Elizabeth's heavy plexiglass display case, weighing well over 200 pounds, slowly, deliberately sliding forward across its sturdy base. It moved nearly 2 full inches. Subsequent inspection by structural staff confirmed the concrete floor was perfectly level, with no vibrations detected in the building at that hour. The movement was physically inexplicable. Sarah discovered the shifted case the next morning, reviewing the footage with growing dread. It seemed Elizabeth was attempting to move closer to the room's entrance. The relentless fire alarms ultimately forced a difficult decision. The system had to be manually disabled within the bridal room between the hours of 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. to prevent constant false alerts. Emergency lighting within the room also failed twice during September, plunging it into total, suffocating darkness. Electricians, once again, found absolutely no fault in the wiring or fixtures. Paranormal investigation teams brought in high-sensitivity EMF detectors, Readings consistently spiked to dangerously high levels near Elizabeth's case, far exceeding normal environmental background radiation. Seeking further evidence, Sarah placed a motion-activated digital recorder directly beside the doll's sealed case for a continuous 48-hour period. Playback revealed a disturbing pattern: soft, distinct tapping sounds, always 3 in a row, tap, 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 recurring at irregular intervals throughout the nights. Crucially, the first sequence of taps consistently began just after 3 a.m., with 17 documented male victims bearing identical unexplained scratches, dozens of verified electronic and physical anomalies, and a growing archive of chilling photographs and audio evidence. It was undeniable. Elizabeth's power had transcended the confines of a mere museum exhibit. Her presence posed a tangible threat. Determined to protect visitors and staff, Sarah and Lee took drastic action. They commissioned the construction of a custom-built, steel-reinforced vault within a secured basement area of the museum. Walls were lined with specialized materials. Elizabeth was carefully transferred into this imposing chamber. The heavy, reinforced door was sealed with multiple industrial-grade locks. Continuous thermal imaging and multiple camera angles monitored the vault interior around the clock. For weeks, an uneasy quiet prevailed. The vault remained still, silent. The alarms ceased. Then, one morning, Lee arrived for his routine footage review. His blood ran cold. The internal security monitor showed the vault's heavy door, and its complex internal locking latch was visibly unfastened. Heart pounding, Lee overrode the external locks and entered. Inside, illuminated by the harsh vault lights, Elizabeth sat propped perfectly upright against the back wall. On the thick glass panel of her secondary inner case, clearly visible in the dust, were the impressions of 3 distinct fingertip taps. The vault door, designed only to open from the outside with multiple keys and codes, showed no signs of forced entry. The internal latch could not disengage without physical manipulation from inside. That morning, Sarah and Lee reached their final decision. With the solemn assistance of experienced spiritual investigators and elders from various traditions across the UK, they performed an intensive, multi-stage cleansing and binding ritual. Every step was meticulously documented in high definition. Elizabeth was then secured within a custom-made, lead-lined wooden chest, its interior inscribed with protective symbols. At twilight, under a solemn vigil, the chest was lowered into a deep excavation site prepared beneath the museum's very foundation. Quick-setting concrete was poured, sealing her within the earth, permanently entombed below the building she had haunted. Since that final interment, the museum reports only one anomalous occurrence. Months later, a night vision security camera trained on the sealed concrete slab captured faint, unmistakable tapping sounds, 3 distinct knocks, resonating from below at exactly 12:03 a.m. I have personally reviewed this footage. I have listened intently to the enhanced audio. The taps are clear, deliberate, and chilling. This concludes the full, documented chronicle of Elizabeth, the doll hailed as the world's most haunted. She began as a silent porcelain bride and now rests beneath tons of concrete. Yet evidence suggests her reach may not be entirely contained. You now possess the details: the auction, the alarms, the whispers, the wounds, the flying object, the moving case, the failed vault, and the final burial. Was it an elaborate, sustained hoax? A profound collective psychological event? Or tangible evidence of a presence defying our understanding? The decision rests with you. Regardless of the explanation, those who encountered Elizabeth carry the memory, and sometimes the scars, indelibly etched upon them. The mystery of the bride doll buried deep beneath South Yorkshire endures.